Also, the story of Reggie Lewis is one that, boy, the more you hear, the more you don't want to believe it, Tim. I mean, it's that kind of a story, and I know Craig Sager's been on top of that, and you'll be talking to him on Inside the NBA.
You're right, Ernie. It's a study in contrast, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on Inside the NBA. So make your plans to be with us. I think that you'll find Craig's story very revealing with respect to the Lewis story, and it's breaking with every passing day. And yes, America, you can sound off on MJ.
Tomorrow night, the Bulls are in Boston, and the Celtics will retire number 35 of Reggie Lewis, whose death in July of 1993 has raised a multitude of questions in recent days. On March 9th, the Wall Street Journal raised the possibility that cocaine use contributed to Lewis's death from heart failure. Yesterday, the Journal quoted Derek Lewis, no relation, but a teammate of Reggie's at Northeastern University, as saying they use cocaine together. And today, the Boston Globe quoted Derek Lewis as saying that he and Reggie and Len Bias used cocaine together in 1985. Tonight, Craig Sager is in the Boston suburb of Needham, Massachusetts. Craig, how are the people up there taking these reports?
Not very well, Ernie. This is a very emotional issue that appears to be tearing a community apart. As you mentioned, the eve of Michael Jordan's final appearance in the Garden, also the night before the retirement of Reggie Lewis's number, and all you have, whether it's the front or back page of the Herald or the front or middle page of the Globe, mounting evidence linking Reggie Lewis to cocaine. The question Boston is now facing is what's more important, the reputation or the truth? I was listening to some call-in shows on the way over here. There are also reports from a black community leader that this is a white media conspiracy trying to destroy a black hero. It's getting pretty ugly, and I'm afraid it may get worse.
You know, there is also a huge insurance payment involved in this situation. What is the status on that?
According to the Boston Globe, an official who works with state insurance claims says there is now enough evidence to investigate and possibly overturn those claims that amount to about $17 million.
How about tomorrow night? What will the mood be like? I'm going to ask you to surmise what it's going to be like at Boston Garden for the retirement of his number 35. With what has been said in these reports coming out, what's the mood going to be like?
I really don't know, Ernie, because there's been a gag order for members of the Celtics and also the coaching staff. However, I did go to practice today, and I did talk to a couple of the Celtics. The point that was made was the darkest day in Celtics history was probably the day that Len Bias died after being drafted, dying of a cocaine use. Now, today, we have Reggie Lewis being linked not only to cocaine, but also to Len Bias. On top of all this, you have a team that is floundering. Their last year in the Garden, they have been booed at home for the first time in many, many years. The fans are not happy with this franchise. They question who's in charge. And if there are boos, it's not so much directed at Reggie Lewis, but perhaps at the Boston franchise.
Drugs, period. I'm going to repeat that. Reggie did not use drugs, period.
Since that denial, others have come forward to corroborate that Lewis did use drugs. Former athletic director Erwin Cohen of Northeastern University said Lewis tested positive for cocaine while still a player for the Huskies. A dealer said he sold cocaine to Lewis in 1988. And Derek Lewis, a friend and former teammate but no relation to Reggie, claims the two used coke 5 days before he collapsed during a game in April of '93. According to the Boston Globe, Derek Lewis also said the pair shared drugs with Len Bias in 1985. 1 year before Bias, a Boston draft pick, died of cocaine intoxication, one of the darkest moments in Celtic history. Lewis has since recanted.
I'm telling you, on the record, from my mouth, it's not from no paper or whatever. I did not see nobody do cocaine in McDonald's bathroom that night.
But the Globe, saying it has the 2.5-hour interview on tape, stands by its story.
Well, if they play it fine, I look foolish. I tell them it was a misquote. I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
The Celtics, past and present, have their own stance.
I wouldn't relinquish the captainship after I left to a guy that was abusing cocaine or using cocaine. There's just no way. And I don't think Reggie was doing that. In my heart, I believe that Reggie Lewis was a kind, upstanding young man. He's a great for the kids. He did a lot for the community, and I just can't see that. You know, maybe I am naive. I don't know. But I think that Reggie Lewis was a man's man.
It doesn't hurt Reggie at all because he's gone. You know, so why bring a story like this and magnify it so much that
it destroys the guy's family. Don't make much sense to me.
They're allegations. I mean, I don't really understand what the premise is, but they're just merely allegations. That's all it is.
The timing of it really stinks. That's why I think personally the timing stinks. Here we are trying to honor a guy and they're trying to bring him down. So I think the timing of it really stinks.
You know, I think it's terrible. The guy's dead. All I know is that this kid played his heart out for the Boston Celtics.
And that is why, on Reggie Lewis night, they'll retire number 35. But the ceremony will not quell the controversy. This morning's Boston Herald reports an anonymous medical source close to the case says that Lewis told one of his doctors that he used cocaine prior to every home game to enhance performance. The Celtics have heard suggestions to postpone or even cancel tonight's event, but it will go on as scheduled.
Certainly the press has been pretty tough on Reggie, and he's not here to defend himself, and I think that's unfair, and I think most people think that's unfair. But Reggie is loved by this community, and I think he will continue to be.
If you look in the rafters, you see those great players' jerseys up there. It's because they were great among their peers, and they were a big part of this storied Boston Celtics history. So Reggie fits right into that.
It was long in the coming. They delayed it almost 2 years, and it was time for it to happen, and I think other people have capitalized on that.
That's what he did on the basketball court. Reggie gave his all, and he deserves to be there with the other players. You know, we have a lot of numbers up there, but I think Reggie's very deserving.
Tonight, at least for a while, that's what Boston fans will celebrate, the way Reggie Lewis played the game. But when the night is over, the way Reggie Lewis died will remain in question. And until that's answered, so too will his legacy. In Boston, Steve Cyphers, ESPN.
Tonight also will be time to honor and remember Celtic great Reggie Lewis. Lewis's number 35 will be raised to the rafters at halftime, where it will rightly take its place alongside the other Celtic legends in this, the last year of the Garden.
I've just never seen anyone give so freely of himself to a community, and many times without the publicity that surrounded it.
So stay with us for what certainly will be a memorable evening. Michael comes back to the Garden, and Reggie joins the Celtic elite. All next on Sports Channel. Many of the all-time great NBA players have called this building home, and their numbers are honored here.
Reggie Lewis, 4-2 Celtics.
Welcome, everybody, to Reggie Lewis night here at the Boston Garden. I knew you'd do it, folks. I knew you'd do it. Tonight, we celebrate a true Celtics great who touched the lives of so many here in the Boston area. You know, Reggie accepted the mantle of leadership as captain of the green and white, and he literally played his heart out for the Boston Celtics. Tonight, we will have his number raised to the rafters, where it will join those of 19 others who have been honored in a similar fashion. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the woman who stood by Reggie's side every step of the way, joined by her daughter, Regina, son Reggie Jr., her mother, Sarah Harris, Reggie's mother, Inez Rich, and her husband, Robert Fields, Reggie's father, Irvin Lewis, and his wife, Diane, Reggie's brother, Jan Rich, Reggie's sister, Sharon Lewis, and her son, Raymond Dickens, and family friends, Darlene Dawsonville, Harriet Tisdale, and Kate Uracu. Please welcome Donna Harris Lewis. We have a number of presentations to make in a short time in which to make them, so we need to keep moving along.
One of the league's most talented young forwards. He currently leads the Boston Celtics in both scoring and steals, making his All-Star game debut.